And hello, in this video, we will talk about tech helpers, what they are about. Okay, so before I continue, I'd like to use this very good tool called the inspect tool. Okay, so the whole idea is that, okay, we've been writing HTML code right here, and we want to see how it correctly displays in the page. Okay, so I'll go close this. I'm on Firefox now, and I use this thing called inspect. So right click inspect. Okay, if I use the inspect, I can actually pull this thing out, and I'll be able to see all the HTML code that's being submitted to Firefox. And you can see right here is where we have our input. Input is type text C, type is number, step is blah blah blah, name is blah blah blah, min, max, value, and required. Okay, all of these things are right here. Okay, so and the moment you press convert, it will start to load something called test page, and then this question mark here, handler equals convert C to F. Okay, that's actually this is actually something called jQuery, but we don't deal with it now. All I want you to focus on is that you compare this input ID equals to blah blah blah, and then you hear this here's the input text to Celsius converter, and here's the input text Fahrenheit to Celsius converter. So Celsius to Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit to Celsius. So if you actually select different different parts of this HTML code, it will actually highlight different parts of the box over here. So that's very useful, especially if you want to see what your HTML code is doing. So we only dealt with input type HTML code, which allows us to draw these text boxes, so that's very nice. And then of course, if you hover over the convert button, or this part, the input type called submit, then you will see this the buttons over here. All right, so that's one thing. Why is this important? Okay, so tech helpers, all we ever see here is this input thing and then ASP-4 something, right? Okay, what's the purpose of a tech helper? Okay, a tech helper, I mean, as the name suggests, it helps us to generate all of these texts, like ID equals to text tempf, type equals to what, step equals to what, name equals to something, min something, max something, value required. Okay, tech helpers are meant to help us do all these things. That's why they're called tech helpers. Okay, so so let's just start using the tech helpers using this ASP-4 keyword. Okay, how do you use tech helpers? Okay, so normally, this is how we do our HTML stuff. What I can do is just to delete all of these things, or maybe I will undo. Yeah, actually I will delete all of these things. So now just remember what is our minimum and maximum Fahrenheit temperature, blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, I will just do, maybe I'll just do I'll just do a tech helper first, and just demonstrate what it is like. Then we can slowly experiment around with tech helpers and how they interact with HTML code. So let's do ASP-4. And what are we trying to do here? We're trying to connect this input to some variable called temperature in degree Fahrenheit. So the page will reload, and if we use the inspect thing, we will be able to see okay, here is our original ID is text temperature degree C, type is number, blah blah blah. And let's take a look at our tempf. If we don't specify anything, the ID will be tempf, the type will be text, the data value will be true. All these texts will be automatically generated. So data value number, the field must be a number. Data value required, double field is required. Name equals tempf, value equals to 0. Okay. So all these things are sort of given to us already. Okay, all these things are already given to us. Somehow, the tech helper somehow knows that temperature in Fahrenheit is supposed to be a number. Okay, why? Well, here's the thing. Okay, when you have tag helpers, the tag helper itself will actually, it will search the page model. Okay, remember we talked about model the last time, and models are used to store data and deal with data, and that's what this page model thing here is for. Like when you press the submit button, it will or press the convert button, it's supposed to execute a function. Now when you use this ASP4 tempf, the tag helper will do is that, what the tag helper will do is to help C# or the program or whatever. It will help it to scan through the page model and look for a variable named tempf. Okay, so this is where the tempf thing comes from. Okay, tempf. So yeah, so that's how it is done. Okay, so here's the tag helper. All it says here is what? Tempf. Okay, if I change even one letter of this word, okay, so see this variable here is tempf. All right, this is the variable here called tempf. If I change even one letter to like not match this double string here, this double thing here, you'll be thrown an error. Okay, test page model does not contain a definition for this capital tempf, and no accessible extension of this method tempf accepting a first argument or type blah 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 is found. Okay, so the moment you use tag helpers, it is kind of very tightly bound with whatever attributes you put here. So you have to be very careful and case sensitive in that sense. So I have to change this to like what, tempf over here. So I can resend, and there you go. So, and whenever you type in a text for this, it will automatically sort of be connected. It will automatically assign the value of this double variable that is in the class over here called tempf. So yes, I can actually use this request form thing to actually retrieve the same data from there, or I can use the smarter way, so to speak. I can use this tempf right here. Okay, so let me show you how. Okay, I'm going to comment this part out, and then I'm just going to use this tempf. Okay, so what is this tempf thing? Going to do? Okay, what's this tempf thing here going to do? Okay, let's do this first. Okay, it's complaining that input doesn't exist in current context. So let's change all inputs to tempf. Then we can resend. So what is this thing doing here? Right? What is this thing doing here? So yeah, when we do this ASP4 again, it will automatically look for a variable here called tempf, and the moment we assign a number to this tempf will be then used in this function here. So remember, in the class we can store attributes. Attributes are also known as variables. Okay, this is an attribute called the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. This degrees Fahrenheit temperature will be converted to a double, meaning to say this is well, actually I don't need to do that anymore. Yeah, because just now previously our temperature in Fahrenheit was a string, so we are not going to use the string method anymore. I'm going to comment this out actually. Okay, comment is // for C#. Okay, so this temperature in degrees F is going to be converted to this temperature in degrees C. Okay, so we saved a few lines of code actually. We did not even need to use this request form .tempf thing. Okay, so yeah, let's try this code out. Okay, so let's put 122 right here, and let's click the convert button, and then we'll see, oh, how come this 0 degrees Fahrenheit is minus 17.78 degrees C? Okay, so something is a little off here. My tech helper isn't working as expected. So what are we supposed to do? Well, that's why I want to introduce you to this concept called model binding. Okay, model binding. What's model binding? Okay, model binding is that okay, model binding basically means that if this ASP4 is looking for this tempf variable, and of course it helps us to generate all these tags. Let's see, inspect. Yeah, it's helping us to convert all these tags for us, right? It's helping us to convert all these for us. Yeah, so this ASP4 is actually converting things for us. So let me save everything first before going. Let's just check. Okay, no hot reload changes to apply. Alright, so yeah, we have this tempf here, which this ASP helper was looking for. This ASP4 was looking for this temperature in Fahrenheit. So we do have an attribute here called temperature in Fahrenheit, but somehow when we key in the values, the value of temperature in Fahrenheit isn't exactly passed on to this temperature in degrees C. So something's a little off. Okay, so let's say I put 123 and then press convert. Okay, the value isn't passing over correctly. So to make sure it passes over correctly, alright, we need to use something called a bind attribute. We need to bind the attribute. Okay, and the way we do this is to use this bind property thing. Okay, bind property. Okay, what's a property? A property is an attribute with this extra little thing here called get and set. Okay, get and set, I haven't talked about it in detail yet, or I haven't talked about it at all for that matter, but those are actually ways to retrieve the data of this Fahrenheit. So for example, look at this Fahrenheit here. If I use this thing called okay, let me just roughly introduce to you get and set. Getting means, okay, I'm literally getting the data. Let's say A equals tempf. Okay, this is you're getting the value of temperature in Fahrenheit. And setting is also very similar. I mean, it's not similar, it's in fact the complete opposite. Tempf equals to 89 degrees Fahrenheit. So setting is actually changing the variable. You're changing this what do you call that? Changing this value. Okay, you're changing this value to something. So this is what you're doing right here. You're changing the value. So changing the value of a variable is known as setting. Now of course the reason why this is here is that it gives you extra functionality, but I won't go through this part yet. Just wherever you have your semicolon, just change it to this get and set thing, and yeah, just change it to this get and set thing, and just leave it be. Don't do anything with it until such time you need to use it, but when we need to use it, then we'll use it. So this thing here, once we have this get and set thing, the variable is no longer called a variable, it's called an attribute. Okay, so you see this thing called, oh no, it's not called an attribute, it's called property. Yeah, this is called property. So a property is a variable with get and set functions or methods. So in short, this is their short form, so to speak. I mean, you can of course define these functions a little bit more, but for now don't touch them. Okay, so we have attributes. We declare a double over here. We declare a double, but the moment we do this get and set, it becomes a property. So yeah, that's just something for you to know. And then okay, what are we supposed to do? We use this thing called bind property. Okay, So what does bind property do? Bind property is supposed to make sure this temperature in Fahrenheit here is correctly mapped to this ASP4 tempf. So this is how properties are being bound, so that every time you enter a text box here for temperature in Fahrenheit, it should in theory get you change the value of this temperature in Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's try that. We send. So let's take a look now. 256, and then now you see the numbers are appearing correctly. So that's how you do this thing called model binding. Okay, so let's say I do A, B, C, D, E, and I try to convert. What happens? Okay, the what do you call that? The text just becomes its default value. Okay, the text just reverts to its default value. The default value I gave it is 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why it gives you this 0 degrees Fahrenheit equals minus 17.78 degrees C. Okay, so we have not have any error messages saying that we cannot enter text, but somehow the tag helper has helped us to process the data in such a way that if you enter garbage values, it will just revert to its normal value, which is 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and yeah, that will be okay. Now, how do tag helpers actually interact with HTML code? Because here all we did here was just to put this ASP4 equals to temperature in Fahrenheit, and then it generates all these tags automatically for us. Okay, name equals tempf, value equals ABCDE, blah 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 blah. And then okay, so what's going on here? What can we how does this actually change if we, let's say we put this minimum maximum everything here? So okay, let's try putting the minimum equals to minus 459 I can't remember what's absolute zero in F Fahrenheit. 459.67. okay, so let's put 459.67. then maximum equals 2.55 E 33 or 32. Is it Planck Temperature Fahrenheit? Okay, so it's 2.55 10 to the power 32. So that will be our maximum. So if we just save this and we take a look, okay, we take a look here. Oh, let's save this. Okay, I think .NET Watch has some error thing here. Let save and quit. Reload. Okay, so if we save and quit and reload, you see that the minimum and maximum here will just appear here alongside the other text that are generated. So whenever you add new text to this tag helper, they will be just added on top of it. Okay, so that's pretty simple to understand. Okay, now let's say you look at this thing. We have an ID equals to temperature in Fahrenheit here, and then we have name equals to temperature in Fahrenheit. What happens if we change this? So let's say we change this. Normally I don't want to change it, but yeah, if we change it, name equals to what? temp123, for example, some garbage code, right? So I'll just resend this. What happens if you type in the name here, the tag helper, the auto generated value by the tag helper will be replaced by your custom value, like temp123 right here. Okay, so and then if you, okay, the other example again, if you change the ID equals to 12345, so remember over here the tag helper generated ID is temperature in Fahrenheit, but if you somehow just change it to 12345 and then you save, you reload the page, what happens? Okay, your ID here becomes 12345, and of course this text box is not going to work anymore. Okay, if you type convert here, it's not going to even do anything because it kind of broke the code. Okay, it's not referencing the correct variable anymore, because the way this bind property works This bind property works by looking for the ID and name of temperature Fahrenheit, or ID or name of temperature Fahrenheit. It will look for the form. It will look for forms here with the ID and name. Okay, it will look for the form ID and name here in temperature Fahrenheit, at least in this HTML part here. So if you want to override the tag helpers, you can, but it's really up to you. You don't really need to do that. That's not the point. So yeah, you can just delete this, and then we can use tag helpers along with our HTML code. So let's say I put a number minus 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, somehow it's still it's working for some reason. That is very strange. Okay, so let me reload the page. So let's inspect. Yeah, somehow this thing isn't working very well with the tag helpers. So minus 1000. Oh, if I convert, the thing is still kind of works. It will just take the value in, and yeah. So somehow if you want to use tag helpers and you want to use this HTML validation things, they don't really work well together. I mean, just for diligence sake, let's exit and run again. Our .NET watch. Okay, and then we'll accept risk and continue because that's our web page anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, convert. Okay, this thing still works. Minus 590. Convert. Yeah, it still works. So okay, so there's something a little buggy with this. These usual things don't work here anymore. The validation that we are used to doesn't work here anymore, but it works over here. Minus 28298, and then it says please select value that's no less than blah blah blah. So we'll have to do validation as well. We'll have to do validation in some way for our ASP tag helpers. We can't really use this minimum and maximum thing here the same way anymore, even though somehow it kind of really affects the code. Let's open up. Yeah, so when we change that, we do see a minimum equals to this, maximum equals to this. So all of these are inside the text, but somehow when you have these tag helpers, the code, the way the thing is, the HTML or the request is processed is done differently. So you need to do validation in a slightly different way here, or pretty different way. Okay, let's see how much time I have left. Okay, so I guess for now I'll stop. Then next video we will deal with how to do model validation. Okay, model validation using the tag helper, so that we will not need to write anything over here. You just need an ASP4. We'll just delete the minimum, the maximum over here, and we'll do our validation somewhere else. Okay, the model-based validation. So let's check out how to do that in the next video. Thanks for watching.